Anyway, fucking here's a new episode of the Emo Social Club podcast. Hooray! I'm Brian.
I'm Lizzie.
We're back on Skype. We're back on the internet, and
Back on our bullshit.
Back on our bullshit. We have a bit of a crazy week this week, so this is going to be a quick episode. But at the end of this, you're going to hear an interview that Lizzie did recently. Lizzie, do you want to talk a bit about that?
Sure. So for one of my class projects, actually, we had to go out and basically do a video project in an article plus photos. So what we ended up doing was focusing on bands that either toured and also had a member, or all of them went to school, or they were in a band and went to school. And it came down to the fact that a lot of people messaged and said, hey, I used to be in school 3 years ago, but I'm still in a band. I'm like, that is just not what I'm looking for, but thank you.
Yeah.
But we came across this really cool band, the Weekend Run Club. I know that they've done a few shows like Out of Contact, so I was familiar with the name. And their guitarist actually goes to my undergrad, and I can never get away from my undergrad, no matter what I fucking do, I swear to God. And we ended up interviewing him and interviewing them. So for my project, we actually only did a kind of like an expose thing on him. But for here, for the podcast, we made it into like a band interview. So it'll have a little bit more of everyone else into it too. And right now I'm trying to figure out how to either do like an Adobe Spark, or if I'm going to do it on my personal side, or however I'm going to post the photos, because I'm going to have a little bit, those more edited a little bit nicer, not just very basic lighting and everything like that. And then also have a mini article to go with it, and we'll link that in the bio too for you guys to check it out. And then check them out too. They are also going to be playing a show at Chop Shop on April 5th, opening for Marina City and playing with Emily Blue. So that should be a really rad show. Yeah.
Marina City is real rad.
They are really rad. I just saw them recently open up for Coin at a KQX Queued Up show.
Yeah.
They did a really good cover of Justin Timberlake. I was very impressed. I was really shook. Like, is this JT right now?
They have been hustling in Chicago for so long, and they deserve any success that they get.
Literally, I interviewed them. I interviewed them a few years ago for my college radio station. They are like some of the nicest people.
Yeah. Nice. So that'll be at the end of the episode. So stick around. It's gonna be a short episode this week anyway, so it's not like you have to.
Yeah, we're all really busy. I'm coming off of finals. Brian has to go do band practice. He's dying too.
Yeah, I've been sick all week, and I got a bunch of stuff. And if you listen to the episode from last week, Megan Rhodes and her dance company, Dance Society. Sorry, she'll get so mad at me. Their show is tonight. Their second show, last show. So check out Peckish Roads on the internet. And go to that show. Don't fuck up. So we wanted to get into a couple of things that happened this week in emo news. Mostly this is another tour announcement thing, because we talked a bit about this a couple weeks ago, so we wanted to follow up on it. Lollapooza announced their full lineup today. We're recording this on Wednesday, so they announced it on Wednesday. And honestly,
it's a pretty solid lineup.
This is like the first year in a while that I've been like, I might actually want to go to Lollapooza. If you haven't seen it, we'll give you just a quick rundown here of some of the headliners and some of the bands that I know I'm excited about. Ariana Grande, Childish Gambino, 21 Pilots, and The Strokes are headlining. Is it Tame Impala?
You also missed Tame Impala, Flume, Chainsmokers, and J Balvin are also still headlining.
I'm like only taking the first line because I'm like, they know, and also like fucking, they're the bigger acts on top.
Well, can we also talk about the disrespect to the fact that Casey Musgraves is a third line? person. She's not technically a headliner or even a secondary headliner. I'm personally very offended for her.
Are you not offended for Janelle Monáe or Lil Wayne?
I am offended for her too. I'm also I'm really offended that people are saying that we need to appreciate Lil Wayne more over everyone else who is primarily this top headliner, and I really need that disrespect to stop.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lil Wayne, whatever, but Janelle Monáe probably should be up there. I don't personally know anything by J Balvin, so that's.
I don't know who he is.
No. So it's crazy to me that he's a headliner, but of course, as you pointed out on Twitter earlier, when somebody said that it is a very diverse lineup, which I think is good. There's a lot of
it's great that
all
it's
different
diverse. Last year was pretty diverse too.
Yeah, I like that, and I am fine with the fact that it's probably somebody I don't know in my experience, but that doesn't mean that a lot of people in other groups don't know them. Focusing more on the emo end, we have I'm putting Death Cab for Cutie in emo.
Yeah, no, they are. Yeah, whether they want to, Ben Givers wants to acknowledge it or not, they're fucking emo.
Yeah, I agree. We've got Bring Me the Horizon, which I'm.
Can you imagine waiting for Ariana Grande or somebody, and then Bring Me the Horizon just opens up a fucking wall of death doing metalcore?
Yeah,
I want to see how that crowd is just for the shits and giggles.
I could get all into that. Against the Current is a Fuel by Ramen band. I put them actually on a playlist of bands that have females in it for whatever reason. I made a playlist for celebrating bands with women in it, and Against the Current is actually really good. I really dug their music.
Yeah, my college radio station undergrad premiered one of their songs, and I had to hear it on repeat for 3 months straight. So every time I hear it, I kind of want to die. But that's beside the point.
Yeah, I dig it. There's a lot of emo hip hop on it. I see. There's NF. There's Hobo Johnson and the Love Makers. Nothing Nowhere's on there. Joji
is also on there too.
Who is?
Local Chicago emo. Arguably emo, but more in the indie scene. But she writes emo sad songs.
Yeah. Saba, also Chicago local hip hop. More on the sad end, from what I've heard. Anyway, I don't know if maybe he has less sad songs that I haven't heard. Yeah, I mean, overall, it is super diverse. I am actually into it. Okay, Chevelle is on there, and I'm like, don't you try to hide Chevelle from me? That's awesome. Who felt
bad for Chevelle?
Me. I feel bad because I want to see them. Send the Pain Below is such a fucking banger. To this day, Send the Pain Below is a banger.
A couple years ago and saw Chevelle, but you didn't.
That's on you. And that's fine. I'll live with that. Chevelle is so good. Chevelle is so good. Okay. So that's our rundown of Lollapooza. I don't think either of us are feeling very I think both of us are pretty positive about it. I know that it's a whole paycheck to go for the whole weekend, so who knows if I'm going to actually do that. But this is the first year in a while I've even considered it. So hats off to Lollapalooza for making me consider it, and also just leave your hat off. You look fine.
Oh my god! I think that's interesting though, is that all the locals, aka all the teenagers that usually go, they pre-bought the 4-day passes before the lineup was announced because there was a fake Lala lineup going out.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of misspellings on it. There was bands that were already playing Pitchfork, and I'm like, you guys are idiots if you can't pick it out, but whatever. And they're really upset that it's not more EDM bass,
of course,
and rap and hip hop and R&B. But I think the biggest thing is do you like diverse music? Do you like experiencing new music? Because that's what a music festival is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's
I find
current,
it interesting.
It's current big artists and up and coming artists, the next big thing that's gonna hit. And I think that is one thing that this year I'm actually interested in Lollapalooza for, rather than just oh look, we got all the big acts that everybody wants to see.
Right, and I mean that's why everyone's where's Cardi? And I'm like, would you really want to go to a fest and be oh my god, now I have to deal with those swarms of people for Ariana Grande and Cardi B? I think I'd rather die.
Yeah, that's not my move.
It's
Um,
not. It's not the move.
we wanted to talk a bit, and you have a more spicy take on this than I do, about another tour that was announced the other day called the Sad Summer Festival. Uh,
Summerfest, yeah.
yeah. So the bands on that, I believe, are State Champs, The Maine, The Wonder Years. Who am I
Mom
forgetting?
jeans, just friends, emo night,
There's another big one.
people.
There's another big one I'm missing on there.
There is
Um,
another big one. I know it's there. I know they're there.
yeah. Damn it. Like
Let's
we here we are trying to look like experts, and we're like, I don't fucking know. Mayday Parade. That's the big one.
there we go. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Forever
So
the
the
Sickest Kids,
yeah.
but I guess they're
Um,
only on certain dates.
yeah. They didn't announce who was on which date. I don't think. At least the posters I saw. I'll be honest. I'm not super interested in this festival, so I don't want to make it sound like, oh my god, I'm so excited. Like it's not. This is not a lot of bands that I listen to. So
Yeah.
this festival is not for me. But Lizzie, you noticed something that I didn't right away, and I think it was really interesting how you put it. So why don't you just go ahead and throw out a spicy take here?
So spicy take of this week. So with Sad Summerfest coming out, it's basically what they wanted to do was to replace Warped Tour. Essentially, is what the biggest argument of it is. So who we have on here are State Champs, Mayday Parade, The Maine, Wonder Years, Mom Jeans, Stand Atlantic, Just Friends, Lift, 4 Year Strong, Set It Off, Forever the Sickest Kids, Emo Night, and Every Avenue. And if we really look at the first of all, who booked it, and the main people who booked it are a bunch of three, mid-30s dudes. And most of the people who are on this bill are a bunch of dudes, with the exception of one girl in Just Friends, one girl in Scene Atlantic, and arguably if they bring Emo Night LA, their usual squad, then it would be one
Mm-hmm.
girl. So let's assume for the benefit of the doubt they do. So that's 3 whole women on a tour. And there was a lot of backlash because people were pointing this out a lot. And so there was this one Twitter user who made the argument of, you can like the tour, but you don't have to keep pointing out that there's no female representation, and then trying to turn the knife around to say, but we have to look at female tour managers and people behind the scenes, and it's like, yes, we have to look at those and appreciate them,
Mm-hmm.
but why are they behind the scene? Why aren't they on stage? Why aren't they out in the open in the public? Why are they being hidden in the scene? I mean, obviously, I work in promotions. I do, band management, social strategy. I understand because I'd rather be behind the scenes because I also have no musical capabilities whatsoever. So there's more reason for that. However, when you look at it, at the end of the day, if you're able to book festivals like Pitchfork has over 50% of their lineups in the last couple of years where it's primarily women, non-binary, POC, or queer individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been the same thing for a lot of different fests as well. And it's wondering why is it so difficult, especially Warped Tour has been called out on this for many, many years in the past. And I mean, they were called out last year too. And it's nothing different, it's nothing new. With this Twitter user, what they also said was, why do we keep complaining? There could be booking and scheduling issues. They could just not want to go on tour with this whole festival, which, okay, yes, I understand. Sometimes booking and there's complications, obviously. Things don't always sync up. But their secondary response of saying, hey, maybe they don't want to. Let's analyze that and see, why wouldn't a band with primarily women or women who are in these bands want to go on a tour with a bunch of older dudes, especially everything that's come out in the past, couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And, it could be they're uncomfortable. They don't feel like they're going to be supported enough. God forbid something awful happens and there's somebody who's not going to be there to justify it for them, because these are larger, big emo household name bands. And there are also the smaller bands that are coming up, and they are really good, like Mom Jeans and Just Friends, that do they want to be at the butt end of everything of it? God forbid something were to happen. I mean, obviously, it's also looking into, are these promoters actually reaching out to more females in general, or are they only hitting up their bros? and scheduling this as well. And I think that's something we need to think about. Obviously, we don't know these people personally, but to automatically divert this and try to fight against it by saying that we don't always have to have women playing festivals. Why are we making this such a big deal? But then being somebody who's also trying to be very feminist and progressive is an oxymoron. You're not being feminist nor progressive if you are diverting the fact that there are no women on a lineup of bands and there's only 3. And, it's basically tokenism at that point. That's not progressive. Whether you want to think so or not, it just isn't at the end of the day. You're essentially the people at the end who are like the neutral party, or if you think in a political sense, you're basically like a neutral party, a moderate, saying, I support this, but why do we have to make this such a big deal? And I mean, we've seen the past 5 years how representation, either female, gender, different ethnicities, minority sexualities, how much that has greatly improved people to want to come out and do more entertainment work specifically as well, and how much it empowers even younger women or those who are maybe scared to come out of the closet or something like that. And for you to keep diverting it, especially in a scene that is primarily white male suburban kids, it's also so arising the question of, are we ever going to move away from that? And are we ever going to address the huge elephant in the room of this scene is primarily still white male dominated, and we're not allowing women or other POCs or different sexualities come about. We'll support it and we'll say we're supporting it, but it's basically being like a false prophecy. It's saying I'm doing it and it's just for the clout, essentially. I hate that word, but it's the best way to kind of put it into a better argument for people to understand. And it's really irritating because while I'm not somebody who, would be on stage, I would want to see other women on stage and, younger girls or girls who are in the scene who maybe do tour managing or behind the scenes stuff like I do, and I know a lot of other girls do. And if they're able to see that, oh, maybe I can finally do that on stage and have musical talent, it would be something that's possible. Just look at Bloodfest, one of the largest, emo pop punk festivals going on. Look at their lineup. They have so many women and different POCs and genders and gender sexualities on there. Why is that so much harder for us to do as a subculture that preaches so much acceptance to bring that in, but then we're fighting against it because it's constructive? It's basically a cultural criticism. I have a real big disconnect with that, especially when it's somebody who is a self-identifying woman. But then it's also a little bit of the epitome of white privilege at the end of the day, because this individual was white. And that's what it is that I feel like it's still something that we're not discussing, and we have to, just because our old bands that we used to listen to were primarily a bunch of dudes. Cool, I get it, but it's 2019 and we have so many more newer bands and a lot of older bands that were glossed over because they were female or, different sexualities in there too, or POCs. And we need to, reach back and say, hey, these people existed and maybe they're not together anymore, but we can still listen to it. If in the punk community can go back and listen to a bunch of super random, in the basement, butt punk and, everything crazy like that, and still acknowledge that there were different people in the scene, why is it so difficult for us in the emo and pop punk scene to do that and to want to better ourselves? It's very hypocritical for us to say how progressive we are and how accepting we are when we keep manufacturing very large tours like this year after year and for decades and still say, but it's because I like these bands, but we don't need to have so many women on it. That's not the prime focus. The prime focus is nostalgia. Unless we're just gonna just overly admit that at this point our whole entire scene is just based on marketing and profits.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add to that because that was good. That was basically it.
So the other issue that I also have is when you're looking at indie rock, they are so much more diverse than our scenes. And I feel like it's because they're more open to cultural critiques and criticism, and they also are much more open to those who are of different ethnicities, different sexualities, and genders. And when you look at also some bands that sound emo or have like more that garage punk emo sound, they identify more as indie. And I feel like it may be because, one, obviously indie sells more, but also, do they feel comfortable and welcomed in our emo and pop punk scene? And that's something I think we need to really think about and consider as well. And coming up next, we have my interview with the Weekend Run Club. Hey guys, this is Lizzie with Emo Social Club, and earlier this month we met up with the Weekend Run Club at one of their shows at Most Taverns here in Chicago. Myself and actually one of my friends through my classes, Alex Talayansky, we went out and we interviewed them, and we put together this really rad package, including articles and a couple other photos too that we will link below. About the Weekend Run Club, they're a local Chicago band. They're kind of based out of the suburbs, but they have a really good mix of different influences that kind of satisfies everybody. And we're definitely excited to let you check them out here on the Emo Social Club podcast.
1, 2, 3. Hi.
No, we're not saying hi. All right, here we go.
Dude, next person to fuck up is out of the band.
Calm me down. Next one who fucks up has to buy us all dinner. Here we go.
None of us can
What if
afford
I already
that.
ate?
I ate before I came.
Shut up, play. 3, 2.
2, 1.
My name is Mitchell, and I sing.
You sure do. And what a guy.
I
What a
sing
singer
too
you are.
sometimes.
I'm Haley, and I play bass.
I'm Bridget, and I play drums.
I'm Joey, and I play guitar.
And my name is Chris, and I also play guitar.
That's us.
So it kind of started off as a message on a chat room kind of thing on Facebook. It was a group called like Chicagoland Classified. I was posting some work that I was doing on my own, and Mitch had commented that he was interested in kind of getting together and talking about a project. He wanted to do some covers, and I did not want to do covers.
Nope.
He showed me some of the music that he was into, and I'm like, okay, probably not the thing that's going to connect us. So I ghosted him, and I didn't talk to him for a couple of months, and I kept writing and working on some of this music. And I was struggling one day. I remember just sitting in my room, in my bed, just trying to hammer out this song that would eventually become Holiday. And I had lyrics over it, but I couldn't sing it, and I was frustrated. And I sent him a message like, hey, I'm really trying to do something. I know you said you're a vocalist. Let's hear those pipes, because I'd never heard him sing. Within a day, he sends me, his work and some of the words that he put to it, and I was like, okay, we got something. Let's start this up. And throughout the next following months, we kind of found guitarists and bass players, and they didn't really work out. They kind of moved on in life. I actually knew Joey and his family a number of years beforehand, and now he was all grown up. And
Our little boy.
I know he played guitar, but I didn't know if he'd be interested in playing, rock. I knew he was kind of into the metal. And believe it or not, Bridget kind of responded to a post that Mitch had posted, looking for a drummer to kind of fill that gap. And Haley and Bridget were in a group together. And when we lost our bass player, it only made sense to bring Haley on board, just because their relationship and kind of their ability to play together it fit really well into what we were doing. So.
I listened to I just wanted to do like a lot of emo covers because I love a lot of emo music, and at the time I was really experimenting like with my voice. I had left school. I was studying classical voice for a long time, and I really just wanted to do something different. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to experiment with genres. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Chris wanted to write, and I was like, I don't know how to do that. And then a couple months passed, and I said, all right, I'll give it a shot.
It was a beautiful cause, actually.
Yeah.
Mitch wanted to do covers of emo music to kind of put a spotlight on mental health.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah, that's.
But it turns out we can still do that with original stuff. So. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
I don't know.
Not me. Wow. I ghosted you. I was like, yeah, no.
In our EP, I mean, everything, I write a lot of the lyrics, and I just put my feelings into it. So that's always relevant. Like, your mental health doesn't have to be necessarily about, like, depression or anything, but your mental health is always with you, and it's always relevant. So I just kind of spotlight trying to be honest about what I'm feeling. And 101, for example, is a song off our EP called Okay For You. And I wrote it about, like, my experience with therapy and about, like, conversations that I never actually had with my therapist, but things that I took from them, and just what it feels like to be in that situation. Because I think a lot of people have been to therapy at least once in their life, but people don't really talk about it very often. So just kind of wanted to get the ball rolling with that, and then everything we write, we put our emotions into it, even if it's just instrumental stuff.
Having Bridget has been really helpful for the band and really showcases how DIY you can actually get without going corporate or reaching out to somebody of a secondary position.
I do all the booking for this band. I'm the manager. So for the Midwest tour, or for any tour in general, when you're doing a new band, we haven't even been together for a full year. So we don't have natural draw in outside states, so you have to focus on more of a DIY focused tour. So with that, you get a community-built audience coming from that DIY household and everyone who knows them, and then you also get a place to stay with that, so it's kind of two birds, one stone. So I do a lot of Facebook clicking around and researching, and I have a lot of spreadsheets in terms of, like, who is in what town, contact information.
She knows everyone.
She has a lot of spreadsheets.
Yeah.
I do. So that's just process of reaching out and seeing who can do what dates, kind of formatting that, a lot of emails. Building a bill, seeing who's coming on, and then relaying all that to the team. We all have stuff going on too, but
Yeah.
we have a Google Calendar so that we can all put in our dates ahead of time. And then I always ask anyways, because you never know what's going to come up. But at least then we know, okay, I definitely know I can't do anything in this date or whatever. So it's possible. I mean, I majored in music management for this purpose, to do it myself. I don't think you need a promoter for a DIY tour at all. It's do it yourself, like.
Honestly, we'd be lost without Bridget.
Yeah, Bridget
runs
is
all of
actually,
it.
she's
She knows
taught
what
us
she's
so much
doing.
about how capable we are, like, on our own, actually, and how
Yeah.
there's so much networking to be done and so many things that you can do on your own that you never really would think about. Because if you're a musician, you're a musician, and it's when you get into the real world and you're thinking about all that extra stuff, you don't always know what to do, but there's really so much you can do on your own.
And really, in the interest of finances, like,
Right, yeah.
it's great that I'm able to do that, and Joe's able to do graphic design, and you guys are able to write as well as you do, because it just saves a lot of time and energy and money in the long run.
Yeah, we definitely, save money where we can, because, we don't have a lot of money to just throw out
Or
there.
any.
Or any.
Well, I think one of the most important things that we do is we look at our band as a business in a sense. There's a lot of documentation, there's a lot of communication. I think we all have a very specific role. It is great to have someone like Bridget with the experience. It's phenomenal to have someone as talented as Joey to be able to handle that, because it's a huge cost. And younger bands sometimes are lost trying to find people like Bridget and people like Joey, and sometimes they make bad decisions, and it's tough. It's financially hard on music, because our musicians, because they don't make a lot of money. And we're just trying to do what we love, and for us to be able to do it in a business sense, but still be able to have fun and work all together, yeah, it's pretty unique. It's very hard to find.
There's a lot of weird things that happen sometimes when you're playing shows, and one of them especially could be that the owner just straight up forgot that you were playing.
Oh, yeah! The EP release.
I'm not saying anything.
The actual show was great.
Yeah.
But just in terms of, like, the original plan, I had received word from the venue that everything was good to go, and so we showed up, and the venue was locked, and the doors were closed, and lights were off, and I was calling people, and they weren't answering.
This was for our EP release show.
Yeah, so
we
like
had
our
actually been
biggest
planned
show,
for like a
yes.
month.
Which was
A lot of
September
people
2018.
invited. Big deal.
Yeah.
From like all sorts of different areas too. So basically, I think the owner of the venue just forgot we were playing. So we
don't know.
had a very limited time to decide what to do. So I'm like thinking about like, friends' basements and like spaces that would be available last minute on a Saturday night. So I called John from Evolution Music in Downers Grove, who is a very good friend of ours and really supports us. And he was like so enthusiastic. He was like, "Come on down, like let's do this." He was like, "It was this last minute show." Like I called him and then we were there in half an hour and we started. So like,
It's the community.
And the people still came, so that was
People still came.
while I was going 80 on the highway, I was calling everyone that was coming to the
It was
show,
a
like,
40-minute
"Hey, you changed by."
change from the.
And I made all these social media posts at the last second, and just like it was crazy. But like,
That's pretty good.
if you don't adapt to fast changes, you're just not going to survive here. Like that's what it's all about in the end.
That was pretty crazy. I would say highlights. We played a show. There was a dog at, and I loved that. Drunken Donut.
There's a dog here too.
There's a dog here too. I'm really happy about that
be a
too.
good night.
But then again, there are also a lot of really great shows that can happen when you're a touring band, especially when a lot of friends and family are involved.
Chop Chop. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a lot of promotion for that one. We did a headliner Chop Shop. I think it was what month?
2 weekends ago.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It was really good.
Taking years off your life.
Yeah, I guess. We just had a lot of people come out because we did the marketing thing a lot for that one, and I do this thing sometimes where I'll hand out glow sticks for our last song.
Oh, that was.
and everyone's just really into it.
You gave it away. Sorry.
I ran out of glow sticks, so we're not doing that again. But everyone was like, it was just, you look down, it's all your friends just like rooting you on. Like, that's the coolest feeling ever.
Yeah.
Like, people like know the words, they're singing along
That's
to you.
the craziest
That's
thing.
wild.
When people know the words,
Yeah.
that hits you. And you're
Very,
like, oh,
very
man.
cool. So it was a huge stage too, and it's like,
Yeah.
the dream.
And it was just announced earlier last week that the Weekend Run Club will actually be opening for Marina City at Chop Shop on April 5th, along with Emily Blue. And it's something you should definitely check out. We are going to put the link in our bio below so you can go and see these guys for yourself and also see some other really amazing local Chicago acts. Chris had some really awesome final thoughts about working with his bandmates and what music really overall feels to him and how he feels that musicians should just kind of just go off and just do it. Maybe not in a Shia LaBeouf way, but they should be going for their dreams.
There is something I think that's super important for anybody who's listening to musicians or a group of musicians, and that's to never give up. Music, I think, for all of us has been an outlet, has been a way for us to creatively put thoughts, emotions, our experience into music, into writing, into words, and you can't stop. It's something that you got to do every single moment you feel it. And if I could just say one thing, it would be to anybody to keep going.
Yeah.
That's why we all are here, and that's why we love doing it. And I think that we never have a bad day, even in the heat of a moment, and people kind of not showing up for things. I love these guys, and they're super talented, and I'm super happy to be in this group. So for anybody out there who's thinking about music, or maybe something's holding them back, let go.
Yeah.
And let it all out there.
Christmas dog. Oh my
No,
God.
it's
This is so dysfunctional.
Joey's ready.
so that's a good question. With
So many times.
We're the Weekend Run Club.
and we don't run.
All right, that was our episode for this week. Thank you, everyone, for coming back to see us. We'll be back next Friday with a full other episode. Hopefully a little bit longer because we'll have more time. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. We're busy people. But yeah, thanks for coming. And from all of us here at the Emo Social Club, I'm Brian.
And I'm Lizzie.
And goodbye. I'm sick. I can't do it. Goodbye. Shit.